But yeah, if you know stuff about the game, you notice all these little things, and it's just like a whole other level of experience versus if you don't. But you don't. There's none of not knowing that doesn't impact the story at all. What other game can you do that with? I mean, there would have to be an older game, right, that you're remaking within the same kind of venue or style as Remake. The Remake series has been done.
But he didn't stop at animals.
I mean, maybe Xenogears you could potentially do it with. Xenosaga, maybe? But I mean, there's like a limited number of games where this style of a remake would be possible to do. And then even on top of that, with like the lore and things and how they're using it to enhance it for people that know what's going on. Even less franchises fit within that exact, extra crunching of the category, essentially.
My mother's name was Genova.
Which is insane, right?
Could it be?
And the fact that that SE is actually utilizing all this lore to do that with.
Am I the same as these monsters?
Sephiroth.
Is
Ever since
just kind of genius writing, you know?
I knew that I was different. That I was special. But not like this.
But not like this.
Not like this.
Sephiroth with the not like this emote.
Am I even human?
Like I said before, Darren, when we were playing the demo,
Eventually,
the
we went
humanization they
back,
did to Sephiroth in these scenes is insane.
but when we got there, Sephiroth locked himself in his room.
That's something you couldn't do with the original, right? Because there's no way to make a 2D character sound more human, because it's just, you're reading it. You have to do it through inflection of the dialogue, which is why non-voiceover dialogue for games is such a hard thing to properly do, and why the contextualization of what you're seeing on screen and how this stuff is written is super important.
Didn't tell a soul where he was going.
And yeah, on top of that, the extra layer of the translation of the game from Japanese to English, conveying the proper tone and emotion and purpose of the scene within the context of the English language from Japanese is even harder to do, because the Japanese language doesn't really translate to English very well. A lot of the ways in which things are spoken and written in Japanese don't directly translate to English, so you have to interpret it into English. And there's like this whole group of people that are like anti-translation these days, which is ridiculous. These people are not real people. I don't know where the hell they come from and what the hell they are trying to do, but they're like, oh, we want direct translation through AI of things because reasons or something. And they don't understand that direct translation of Japanese to English would make games fracking horrible. Like go through and read a direct translation of some JRPG from the last 20 years. And compare it to the English translation for the actual game, and you'll notice that the dialogue is really dry. A lot of places it may not make a whole lot of sense. For example, go look at the translation for Atelier Ryza 3. That is a pretty good example. I mean, it's not entirely a good example, but there are parts of that story's translation that are good examples of what happens when you don't properly translate a game from Japanese to English with the proper understanding of the two languages. Things just come out sounding really, really weird. And this is what those people want. They want to essentially have games with really crappy translations because they just want to be done by AI, and it's just like, you know, I don't understand these people. They're probably not even gamers. They're probably just people that are pissed off that the translation is interpreted through a different lens than like how it is in Japanese or something. Like, you know, probably the same reason that people hate dubs, you know. Outside of the voice acting component of it, I think a lot of people hate dubs. That a lot of people say they hate dubs, hate them because of the way that the translation happens. And it's just like, you know, this is how it works, and how it's always worked.
I met Sephiroth
Well,
as he was heading for Shinra Manor.
back in the 90s, translations are really shitty. To be honest, if we just went to machine translation, that's what we get again, is that kind of level of this guy are sick translation. That just makes no sense.
Sephiroth. I did see him leave a little while ago.
And we would never have gotten things like,
Something's been off ever since he came back from the
for example, Frog in Chrono Trigger. The English translation for Frog, his like the way that he speaks is entirely manufacturing. Manufacturation. What? It's essentially manufactured diction from the translation. Like in the original Japanese, Frog talks just like all the other characters. Doesn't have that Middle Ages inflection to any of the things he's saying. But when they translated it to English, that translator, I'm putting in some assumptions here because we don't really know, or at least I don't know. Maybe there's somewhere out there there's like a interview or something with the translator for Chrono Trigger, the original one. But what I'm assuming is, since the stuff where Frog is at is from the Middle Ages of that world, he surmised that as a knight, as somebody that was honorable, as somebody that was a knight to a king and a queen, that he would speak with that kind of Middle Eastern knight cadence that he does. And I think that makes that character even better than in the original game. And there are a lot of people that would say, oh, that's heresy, because that's not how the original, you know, it's not what the developers wanted it to be. But, you know, at some point, as a developer, you have to let go of the things you created and let the localization teams do what they need to do to make the game the way it needs to be for that locale, you know. In the English language, when you have something set in a Middle Ages time period, there's a certain way that English is spoken in that time period, during that time period, that in order to make that character be realistic, it has to speak in that way, because that's the way that English was spoken then. And if you want to maintain credibility with players, the character has to speak that way for it to seem, you know, for it to make sense, for it to be immersion, for there to be immersion for that character. If you got a character from the year 660 AD talking like they're from the Bronx in 2024, people are gonna call you out for that, because that's not how that character would speak. And we kind of got that with Forspoken, you know. A lot of people complain that the main character of Forspoken talked like a average New Yorker, and they said it didn't feel, even though it's kind of like an isekai sort of game, they said it didn't feel, you know, felt weird and wasn't very good. That's kind of case in point, you know. I mean, I think in that specific case, it probably works better. I don't agree with them on that point. I think it actually does work, but that's an example, right?
If you're looking for Sephiroth, I saw him headed toward the mansion.
Sephiroth wasn't looking so hot when he got his
Shinra Manor was the biggest building in town, and older than the reactor. The company used to conduct research there, back when they were still a small manufacturer.
Oh yeah, I want to make sure we go in here when the music's swelled up so we can hear if it shifts automatically.
Well,
place is pitch black. You think he's sleeping or
So we gotta wait a bit
What if he's
because it's about to dip out.
Him? A little Mako poisoning isn't gonna hurt a living legend.
Just watching stuff from work real quick here. So I need to jump on anything to help with stuff. I'll need to pause the recording for a bit. Doesn't seems like somebody else got to that, so cool. Yeah, so if you hear like a weird noise in the background, it's from our work communication app, Slack. Damn it! I think I missed the opportunity to go in there. It's gonna hit this point where there's not much music. Right, maybe we can get in here now. No, problem is if the second we go up there, it's gonna drop out. I know it's coming. And I want to see this happen in real time, so no, I'm not crazy. There's gonna be a drop here in a second. And I want it to be the highest point of this music it can be, just to make sure we confirm it all the way. Okay, let's go. Run, Cloud, you fool. It does. You can actually hear it fade into this. Holy shit, it does do that. Wow. Okay, so yeah, they blew the budget on the audio system. God, the pop-in in some places is nuts. That's just UE4 though, I mean, something they can really do about that. UE4's LOD system is hammered shit. Always has been. That's one of the problems with UE4. But it's kind of why, when I heard about UE5, I kind of wanted to put Odyssey and Void on hold until UE5 was kind of matured. Because that'll help tremendously with dealing with some of this UE4 garbage. But yeah, the fact that the music just smoothly transitions into other places, it's nuts. And it's like, it's not just that it transitions into another song, it's that it transitions into the same part of another song that matches, like, it went from that version, the outside version of the song, to the inside version of the song at the point in the song it was at. That's the impressive part, right? That's the mind-blowing part, is that they actually can transition from a song to another song in the middle of that song being played and pick up in the new song at that point that you're at in the old song. And that level of dynamic audio is something that Remake created, you know. It didn't really exist to my knowledge until that point. And they've like taken that system and perfected it even more in Rebirth, which is nuts. And we see it. I think we're going to see it all over the place. You kind of already have, like, with the transition from the normal music to the battle theme versions of music. I think this is going to continue on. But it's one of the most impressive things about Remake is that dynamic audio system, and it's even better in Rebirth. That's insane. They probably blew $20–30 million on the research and tech to make that happen. across both games. That might be a much. Might be a bit much actually. Maybe a couple 100,000. Maybe not a couple. Maybe not tens of millions. That was a lot. I can guarantee it was a lot of money. Time, effort, a lot of painstaking. Frack these chairs. We're gonna knock them all over. Because the game lets you push these things around, so we're going to knock them over, because we did that in Shinra Tower. Knocked over every chair in Shinra Tower, so we're going to knock over every chair in Shinra Mansion as well. If I get someone to tip over. Come on, tip over, you damn cow chair. But no, yeah, the audio system in these two games is nuts. Literally revolutionary stuff in terms of gaming. Alright, let's go down. So I'm expecting the lighting to still be just as janky as it was. And you can really tell in here. Yeah, see. And again, this is like UE4 stuff. Like how cloud's lit right here is because of the lighting out here. And it's really weird. I don't know if it's because of the way they have the light maps created or something. Or if there's like something like specific that the way that they built the geometry of the map makes it so light bleeds through like that. Because we have two light sources up here, right? We have 4 light sources up here, right? These light sources should be providing the lighting in this area, right? But they're not. The lighting is coming from out there on the two ones out there, the 2 lights on the side out there for some reason, and not from above us. The way you can tell that is if you look at Cloud from here, all the shading that's on this side of him, it should be on the bottom of all his features. Because the light should be top down, but it's not. It's coming from this direction. It's just, it's really strange.
Was news to me too. Doubt anyone in the village had a clue.
There's some really strange stuff with lighting. And I absolutely will hammer them for that, because that is something that they should have fixed. That's an obvious thing. There's an obvious problem there. And lighting is one thing that will make a game look really bad, even if the graphics are really good, because if the lighting in an area is flat, the characters are going to look flat. This isn't real life. Lighting reacts a lot differently in games than it does in real life. And we haven't created the lighting system yet that can make realistic light possible. And we don't have the technology, the hardware yet to actually simulate it properly either. RTX is a poor substitute. And actually, well, it's a poor substitute. It doesn't actually work that well, and it just consumes too much power. Ray tracing, that is. It's not worth the amount of effort you have to go through to try and simulate it. Yeah, screw that box. The other thing is that, like, this over here, this turn back, they should have had it going over this and over that. Instead, it's like underneath this. You can kind of see how it goes underneath this section here, kind of, sort of. I think they cut it off so it would appear like it stopped there, but realistically, there should be the turn back thing going over the edge of this pillar right here too. It's just, there's some weird detail things. But again, this game is so massive. At least they bill it as being so massive that things like this can kind of be overlooked a little bit. Getting every tiny little detail right isn't going to be possible in a lot of cases. There's not enough time to do it, not enough manpower to do it, not enough money to do it. one decal on a wall is less important than the lighting. Oh, what's this? It's like a ladder here that goes up to there. And that goes to nowhere. Interesting. Maybe there was another floor above this at one point? Potentially? Just taking a good look around here. Seeing what we have. Like there is a light right there. Yeah, there's a light right there. What the hell? That's hilarious. They put a spotlight right there. And you can see it. Just hanging out right there. A lightless light source. Things like this, you know. Again, it's a small detail. But lighting is one of the most important aspects of a game. Again, though, I mean, that's probably easy to miss. Especially when you have people, when you have playtesters that are playing the game that don't necessarily know what to look for in terms of, like, issues. They're looking for game-breaking bugs and things. They're not looking for mapping errors. Which this is obviously one of. This should have been an easy thing to fix. Somebody should have saw it and was like, hey, wait a second, why is this up there for? Interesting. But now I'm picking all the nits right now, so let's go ahead and continue. I just like that just pulled me. It's like, whoa, what's this? Pulled me completely out of the scene. But the way they have Sephiroth framed down here is
2,000-year-old rock layer.
perfect.
A life form in stasis. Professor Gast named this life form Genova. NEGL 77-1977.
I like how they're using the actual time periods and things. That wasn't in the original game.
9/13/1977. Genova project approved.
Yeah, and these large games like this,
They named the life form Genova.
you're gonna find all kinds of little weird things like that. Like, I'm not talking about like bugs and broken things. That's inexcusable, but like tiny little issues like that light source, that texture,
What you got there?
the lighting, I guess to a certain extent.
Leave me be.
There's a lot of room to overlook things or to miss things or to be like, oh, that's so small we can get to it later, and then they never go back to actually do the later bit.
He stayed holed up in the
That
basement,
happens in modern games all the time.
reading, like a man possessed.
Now, when it becomes like a continuous thing where you see all these different things and all these different areas that are like the same kind of thing, like we see lots of light sources that don't have any actual light sources throughout a bunch of different maps, then we can kind of say, okay, it's, you know, Square is not doing the best they could do. I can forgive like small things here and there, but if it's like a consistent issue, like in Starfield, where it's like,
We got Genova.
it's just like an obvious design decision choice that they've done,
The name
then I will, you know, rail on that if it's not the right thing they should have done.
Agents. Screw it. Racking my brain's not gonna give me
Or
any-
like
May as well just ask the guy.
Atelier Reza 3, or what's another game? That one roguelite we played a while back, where like the main character in game is not the same main character as in the portrait, kind of thing. Those intentional decisions to do that, you know, that kind of stuff is pretty egregious and should be called out.
I've come across
This whole scene is crazy too.
passage.
Oh, I wanted to put a bunch of crap in the hallway.
Found in Strata.
Because apparently, you put a bunch of crap in the hallway, it's still there in the scene, and it'll get, you know, everything get blown out when Sephiroth throws Cloud through the hallway. Because these are not pre-rendered, these are in-engine cutscenes.
Or a steward of the planet, as they are referred to in legend.
So there's 3 different types of cutscenes. You have cinematic cutscenes that are actually like CGI. You have pre-rendered cutscenes, which are cutscenes that are in engine but that are recorded and essentially played back as a video file. Then you have in-engine cutscenes that are essentially cutscenes that are happening in real time in the engine as you're playing the game. Most of the cutscenes in Remake and in Rebirth are in-engine cutscenes. They're not pre-rendered, they're not CGI. There are some CGI cutscenes, actually, though, in Remake.
He created you?
I think we've seen 1 or 2, like the opening sequences are traveling along with the bird. That's CGI. But I don't think we've seen anything aside from that that's been CGI. This all metaphorical
I should go.
flames rising, the shadow, Genova consuming Sephiroth at this point.
Hey. Hey, hold on.
That's also an interesting point, right? When Sephiroth goes to Genova, it's Genova taking control of Sephiroth, right? Because the way that Genova works is that if you have Genova cells, at least this is Hojo's reunion theory, Genova can essentially call out to anything that has cells in it and force them to return to her. And that's what's happening here. Now, later on in the rest of the game, it flips where Sephiroth becomes the Genova, if you will, in that equation, and is drawing Genova to him. And that's like the whole 2/3 of the game is all about all the pieces of Genova returning to Sephiroth in the Northern Crater.
Hey, you! Get in there! The villagers need your help!
Again, spoilers if you were not here earlier. I'll put a spoiler tag in the thing. No, give me that box, you bastards. Yes, there was nothing in it though. God damn it. Wait, how far can you go if you do that? Oh, right to there. It's precisely right to there. Of course, like, if you really want it, we're gonna make you work for it. Destroy your controller. But you can't go much past that. But there's nothing there either, so... Okay.
Let me through! My son's still in there!
I'm sorry! He's gone!
Did they make Cloud slower? I think they made Cloud a bit slower here. Maybe.
Oh, it was him, all right. And he's still here. So keep your eyes peeled. God. Get your head straight. I need you to secure the way out. Now.
It feels like he's slower. That's one thing I kind of don't like about this. If there's one thing I complain about in the beginning part here, it's that moment, like when you're on the ground trying to like crawl across it. It's super contrived, doesn't need to be there. And in fact, if they removed that crawling bit and just go straight to Sephiroth killing the dudes, it would make it so much better, because you wouldn't have this moment where you get pulled out and you're like wondering why these idiots aren't shooting him. And I'm just standing around doing nothing. I mean, I get they're building the scene up a bit, but at the same time, that's horrible writing there.